The action starts at a roadside motel. Alice, age 30, is in her motel room. Eric, her husband, rings her up, and she hurries into the bathroom to take the call. She sees it's already 2 a.m. Eric is affectionate on the line, reminding her they have a fertility doctor appointment today. Their talk shows Alice works as a farm company's social media manager. She wrapped up a major industry conference and is set to drive home, yet Eric has no idea his wife has been unfaithful. Throughout this trip, Alice has been sleeping with John, her colleague and best friend. Now, the scene shifts. Alice and John leave the motel and start driving. But during the ride, more details come out in their conversation. It turns out Alice and Eric have had trouble conceiving. Alice acknowledges that Eric always shows genuine care and watches out for how she feels. Then, out of nowhere, John sees the gas gauge nearly empty. He's puzzled because he's sure he filled the tank just the previous day. Even so, he turns into a gas station nearby. John steps out to refuel. Alice goes into the convenience store for coffee to wake herself up. In the meantime, the viewer can spot fuel leaking from under the vehicle. That's why the gas vanished so quickly. A huge billboard sits right beside the station. It carries a creepy line, "God is nowhere." Inside the store, Alice approaches the cash register to pay. Oddly enough, there isn't a soul in the place. Since nobody is around, she simply drops the money on the counter. Then Alice sees something truly awful. The walls are covered with red splatters. Knowing something is seriously wrong, she makes a break for the door. But just as her hand hits the handle, an unknown gunman outside starts shooting. A bullet catches her directly in the arm. After that, a stream of bullets flies at her. Despite the searing pain, Alice crawls frantically to the back of the store and finally finds cover. She screams for assistance, but outside, there isn't any response. As it turns out, John is still in his car with the stereo blaring. He has no idea what's happening in the store. Alice tightens a tourniquet above her injury to slow the blood loss. Next, she cautiously looks out to check the situation. All of a sudden, a bullet flies right by her head. At that moment, she finally understands. The shooter is positioned up on that billboard. At this point, Alice is completely trapped. A hidden killer is tracking her every move. The one person she can rely on is still outside, with zero clue what's going on. To keep herself alive, Alice decides to grab her phone. It's only a few feet away. Right as she reaches out, the sniper destroys it with one precise shot. With time running out, Alice needs to think of another way. She looks up at the security monitors. She sees there's another exit in the store. Just at that moment, a sound catches her attention. She searches and finds a walkie-talkie on a nearby table. But that table sits directly in the sniper's shooting path. Running out there would be a suicide mission. So, Alice thinks on her feet and comes up with a clever move. She grabs some bags of chips and throws them upward. As the sniper shoots at the chips, Alice darts in and snatches the walkie-talkie. She immediately shouts into it, telling the person on the other end to dial 911. But the guy isn't paying attention. Instead, he begins asking about his wife, Amelia. Meanwhile, John senses that something is off outside. He sees the fuel gauge dropping again. Finally, he finds the leak in the gas tank, and Alice still hasn't come out. Worried about her, John decides to go inside and check on her. But the moment he sees Alice, a bullet hits him right in the neck. He drops to the floor instantly. He begs Alice to help him, barely able to breathe from the pain. Before Alice can react, the sniper fires off another round. John is killed on the spot. After that horrifying moment, Alice tries to pull the walkie-talkie back from the open area. Using a mop handle, she slowly nudges it closer until it comes within reach. Alice gives the man her name and tells him about the horrors inside. When he asks about Amelia again, Alice admits she hasn't seen anyone else alive. After hearing that, the man says he'll phone the police right away. He tells Alice the cops should get there in about 15 minutes. But a heartbeat later, he bursts into a chilling, hysterical laugh. He confesses that he's the one who just killed John, and he's nowhere near finished. He threatens Alice, warning her not to stop talking to him, and he'll come down and track her down on his own. Terror grips her. Alice looks around the store, hunting for a possible escape. Her eyes land on a row of light switches along the wall. She realizes that if she can shut off the lights, she might stand a real chance of slipping away. Alice grabs whatever is nearby and dashes toward the switches. She makes attempt after attempt, but keeps missing them. Then she spots something. The shelf she's crouched behind is on wheels. Alice nudges the shelf forward slowly, using it as cover while bullets fly past. At last, she waits for the ideal second. Then, lunges, and slaps the switches. The store falls into total darkness. A moment later, Alice grabs the walkie-talkie and tries once more to contact someone, anyone out there. But no matter what frequency she tries, the sniper is the only voice that replies. He says coldly that she's all alone out here. He's the only one around. And so is Alice. And his wife, Amelia. It's at that instant, everything falls into place. Amelia is gone. Then he delivers an even harsher revelation. Amelia died because she cheated, and he's the one who ended her life. Alice is frozen with dread, aware she's guilty of the same betrayal. Alice starts connecting the dots. Maybe the sniper came after her because she strayed from her marriage too. Though, there's still another option. She just happened to be in the wrong place at the worst possible moment. After a short while, Alice sees a car pull up to the gas station. A man named Doug climbs out of the vehicle. He heads straight into the convenience store, searching for his his girlfriend, Amelia. The moment she sees him walk in, Alice whispers a warning, telling him to stay low. She warns Doug a sniper is lurking nearby. She wonders if Doug could be the guy Amelia was seeing on the side. Alice pleads with Doug to call the police, but Doug says he left his phone in the car. So Alice reveals that Amelia was murdered by her husband. Doug goes stiff when he hears that. He fires back immediately, claiming the killer's lying, because Amelia was never married. As Doug reaches the counter, Alice picks up on something off. The sniper outside has gone completely quiet since Doug arrived. No words, no gunfire. That shift in behavior makes Alice uneasy. It starts to occur to her that Doug might be the real shooter, but Doug refuses to own up to it. He swears he isn't the shooter at all. Doug gives his version of events. He and Amelia are both on the night shift. He says he just came by to visit his girlfriend. Alice is now completely lost. She doesn't know who she can trust now. Given all the warning signs, she still can't bring herself to trust Doug. So Doug advises her to stay on the radio with the killer and dig for truth. Time is running out. The shooter outside hasn't taken another shot, so Alice devises a plan. She instructs Doug to head to his car and grab his phone. By doing that, he'd be able to prove he's not the gunman. As for Alice, she'll work to keep the shooter distracted. Doug instantly freaks out. The plan is far too risky, but Alice keeps insisting, and at last he caves. Then disaster strikes. Doug gets to the car and reaches for the phone mounted on the dash. A moment later, a gunshot echoes. Doug is shot and drops to the ground at once. Now the truth becomes painfully clear. Everything Doug told her was real. He really wasn't the sniper. Alice completely falls apart. She all but sent an innocent man to die. Worse still, with Doug gone, her final shot at escaping is basically gone. A little while later, the actual shooter speaks over the radio once more. He coldly tells Alice she's just as much a killer. He accuses her of knowing Doug wouldn't survive, yet she sent him out regardless. From his point of view, it was a mission. After that, the shooter reveals what he truly wants. He says he's after the truth, and he already knows everything about Alice's industry conference. This guy despises the company Alice works at. He can't stand that she helps produce drugs that ruin people's lives. Alice immediately speaks out to defend herself. She clarifies that her company makes life-saving medicine, and she's merely a social media manager. Nothing else. But the sniper just sneers at her. In his eyes, that's actually worse. Alice is the one who twists the truth to sell these products. She makes them look good with lies before pushing them onto the public. But it doesn't end there. The sniper even knows her company's exact name. He calls her out for being deeply selfish. According to him, she bulldozed her way up the corporate ladder to him. That's exactly why she has to die. And then this sicko throws out something even darker. He says Alice faked a sexual harassment claim to get promoted. The guy got fired over her lie. With no income, he couldn't even buy meds for his sick daughter. As the gunman keeps ranting on the radio, Alice's mind is racing. Her eyes catch umbrellas lined up near the counter. She starts to hatch a plan. Meanwhile, his story about being Amelia's husband starts falling apart. Remember what Doug said before. Amelia wasn't married at all, so the sniper's probably been lying all along. He made up the whole angry husband thing. He's using the cheating wife card just to mess with Alice's head. The voice on the radio keeps rambling. Alice uses the distraction to line up the umbrellas, but the sniper quickly notices. A split second later, heavy gunfire erupts outside. Bullets rain into the gas station, but fortunately, Alice bolts, barely making it to the exit door. But when she tries to shove it open, she finds it locked. Alice doesn't give up. She looks for something to break the padlock, but she keeps hitting the lock again and again. But no matter how hard she tries, the lock won't budge. Just then, another stranger rolls into the station. He just wants to fill up his tank, but his card gets rejected, so he grumbles and drives off. Throughout it all, the sniper doesn't fire a single shot at him. Clearly the killer isn't blindly shooting everyone inside. He only goes after people who catch on or get too close to the truth. In the meantime, Alice completely breaks down. She sobs and begs into the radio. She hopes he'll have mercy and let her go. She admits she's struggled to get pregnant. It's put huge pressure on her marriage, but what shocks her is, he already knows she's been cheating on her husband. Then he slams her with vicious insults. He calls her a reckless disaster. He says the world's better off with people like her gone. Right then, Alice spots a police car racing toward the station. A spark of hope lights up inside her, but then comes a gut punch. A patrol car blows right past. While the sniper was distracted, she slipped out of cover and crept toward John's car. Over the radio, the killer kept demanding to know where she was. Just as she reached for the door handle, another gunshot rang out. The sniper had locked onto her again. The shots pinned her down with nowhere to hide, and this time, a bullet tore straight through her thigh. Alice collapsed. In agony, she curled up on the ground. Blood began spreading beneath her. Her consciousness blurred, and her vision started to fade. But she still didn't give up. Gritting her teeth, she gave herself basic first aid. She finally managed to stop the bleeding for now. Meanwhile, the sniper kept rambling on the radio. She grabbed a hacksaw, trying to cut through the padlock on the exit door, but in her panic, her hand slipped. She cut her own hand instead of the lock. Hurt and desperate, Alice finally lost it. She grabbed the radio and screamed into it. She told him that even killing her wouldn't save his miserable life. Not long after, another car pulled into the gas station. An old man got out, ready to fill up. But the moment he stood up, he saw Doug's body. The old man was terrified. His startled gasp immediately caught the sniper's attention. A moment later, another shot rang out. The old man was hit and dropped on the spot. To make it worse, his wife got out of the car to see what happened. Alice waved her arms desperately, trying to signal her to take cover, but it was too late. The sniper pulled the trigger again without hesitation. The old woman fell where she stood. In an instant, an innocent couple lost their lives right in front of each other. At the same time, the killer's cold voice came over the radio again. He told Alice that she and he were the same. He claimed they both had the same evil genes running through their blood. Hearing that, Alice completely snapped. She shouted back into the radio, saying she was nothing like him. Then Alice revealed her secret, but she had chosen not to have children. She didn't want to pass her pain on to them. She didn't want them to suffer from depression. And she sure as hell didn't want them to grow up into cowards who hide in the dark and kill the innocent. Please provide the Chinese text you need translated, and I'll translate it into English as required. The example you gave, her words cut through the sniper like a knife, is English not the source text. Please send the actual Chinese. But just then, Alice notices there's still a child in the car. Her name is Cindy. The child just watched her grandparents die right in front of her. She's shaking with fear and too scared to move. Alice panics instantly. She grabs the radio and begs the sniper to spare the girl. The sniper answers coldly. He says if he really wanted Cindy gone, she'd be gone already. Then he asks Alice if she would trade her life for Cindy's. Alice doesn't hesitate for a second. I understand all your subtitle translation requirements, but you haven't provided the source text or the language pair. Please send the subtitle content in SRT and the direction, e.g. English to Chinese, and I'll translate accordingly, she says firmly. The sniper gives her 2 minutes to get the kid out of there. Alice yells at Cindy, telling her to run to the main road, but no matter how Alice begs and pleads, Cindy won't budge. The poor kid is completely terrified. In the end, she didn't run toward the road. Instead, she runs straight into the convenience store. For her, the dark night outside is scarier than the store. Now Alice is truly cornered. She saws at the padlock like a madwoman. Please provide the subtitle text that needs translating. The sniper finally climbs down from the billboard. He starts walking toward the store, a step by step. He clearly intends to finish this himself. After a desperate struggle, Alice finally cuts through the padlock, but when she pushes the door open, she's completely devastated. Behind that door is a heavy metal rolling shutter, and it's locked tight too. Now Alice has no choice left. She has to face this monster head on. She quickly hides Cindy, then she grabs anything nearby to defend herself. She forces herself to stand, steeled and ready for a last stand. Soon the sniper finally walks into the store. He strides down the aisle, still talking to her. He asks Alice who she thinks he really is. Is he a vengeful ghost sent by the husband she betrayed, or a coworker who lost his job because of her, or maybe a grieving father who lost his daughter? Did his little girl die from side effects of a drug her company sold? He just turns the corner. Alice bursts out from the shadows. She takes a metal rod to the man's back with everything she's got, but even that doesn't stop him. They end up wrestling on the floor. Alice frantically tries to rip off his mask. Cindy hides in the corner silently watching all this. She is completely frozen with fear. In the midst of the fight, suddenly a gunshot rings out. Alice falls to the ground. She seems lifeless. The killer moves toward the girl's hiding spot. He quickly finds Cindy. He slowly reaches up to remove his mask. It looks like he is about to show her his real face. At the last moment, Alice, the one who was supposed to be dead, suddenly charges right back at him. With everything she has, she swings a fire extinguisher and slams it into him. The killer struggles to crawl away. Alice hits him again, even harder than before. She desperately drags the man's body. Bit by bit, she drags him toward the hydraulic press. She shoves him into the machine. At the same time, she really wants to know who is under that mask. But before the truth is revealed, the machine roars to life. In an instant, the man's head is crushed. The nightmare finally comes to an end. But there is one problem. Alice will never know the killer's true face. His identity becomes a permanent mystery. The moment the killer dies, Alice's strength is also completely gone. Soon after, she collapses in the cold corner and takes her last breath. In the final shot, the little girl walks out of the convenience store alone. She slowly walks onto the road. Morning sunlight begins to fall. After that terrible ordeal, the little girl is the only survivor.